What is going on, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. It is Thursday, January 29th. Be sure to like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And this evening, we will be talking about Jesse Minter officially becoming the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. What's up, Two Federal? What's up, Dawson Hess? Appreciate all you guys for being here. So Jesse Minter had his press conference with Eric DeCosta and Sashi Brown in Owings Mills. He went on The Herd with Colin Cowherd. He went on Pat McAfee. And Zach, you said he also went on Rich Eisen, right?
Yeah.
So a ton of quotes and appearances from Jesse Minter today. How are you feeling, Zach?
It is so cool. And I thought it was just going to be a one-time thing. Maybe it's just Pat McAfee appearance, something like that. A long time ago, this is going to be a little like story too. A long time ago, I'd just been so into the Pat McAfee show that eventually I had learned that there was some discourse when John Harbaugh was the coach that some social media manager with Baltimore and their team and Pat's team, something went weird with it. That there was a disconnect and that basically Harbaugh wouldn't allow all players to do the show. You might have seen little clips of Tucker. I think Mark Andrews was on it once, but never, a Lamar, never Harbaugh. It was always, the guys that might be really close to Pat. And seeing Minter go on all these shows, basically have a full day of answering questions, not only just to the Ravens media that we've known for all this time, but to the national media fully and on the biggest platforms. So it was just a really fun moment that you saw a different side of Minter besides the press conference. The press conference, he blew me away in great answers, kind of dodging around some as he should. But other than that, what an awesome start to his tenure here. That it was another spoonful of confidence to me.
Yeah, I feel like, and obviously John Harbaugh's been here for 18 years. If you go back and watch John Harbaugh in 2008, probably look a lot different. But I do feel like Jesse Minter's a little bit more personable, at least right now, and just seems a little more positive. There's a bit better of a vibe there. Obviously, there's a fresh start. The vibe is going to be a lot more positive, but I feel like sometimes you do see head coaches get hired where you don't feel this sort of positive vibe. I think back to like Aaron Glenn getting hired by the Jets last year. It didn't feel happy. Like, I think sometimes a coach gets hired and off the bat, it seems like it might not be a great move. And I think he's at least past that stage. I have sort of been feeling like recently, Zach, that, when your favorite team loses a big game or loses in a playoff game, and for the next couple days or weeks, you're like, you're not going to wear a Ravens shirt in public.
Yep.
Like, I feel like after this Minter hiring, and especially now, I'm getting back to the point to where I would be fine wearing a Lamar jersey or a Ravens shirt or a Ravens hoodie in public, just because, and that's how positive I feel about the direction that things are going. And, I think Jesse Minter has brought a lot of optimism to the Ravens. And I like how he goes about things. You see sometimes like Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell, those guys get hired and they are great coaches. It's like so serious and motivational at their initial presser. And Jesse Minter is kind of just like being himself. And it just feels like he's really excited to get to work and get going. So I feel like that has been something I've noticed as well.
Yeah, and here's a great comment from Not a Chance. We've addressed this a few times, in especially Brad's mind, because you'd been so offensive, minded towards all this, and I think the rest of the league is too. So it's healthy to think that. But after all those conversations, does it again reassure you that this is the right pick? I think he says top 5, but I think the only negative I could take out of that was the fact he just didn't have an answer towards, coordinator jobs. And that's not holding it against him at all. It's just, we don't know yet. So everything else being positive from his answers and being so kind to about everyone that looked like I asked him a question at all. How do you feel just after that, and maybe all those appearances too. Like
Yeah,
despite,
so
I'm the same way wearing my merch.
yeah. So like January 22nd, which is a week ago. I think this was actually the day before the Ravens hired Minter. I ranked my top 5 head coaching candidates. Um, 1 was Clint Kubiak, 2 was Nate Scheelhaus, 3 was Joe Brady, 4 was Davis Webb, and 5 was Jesse Minter. Obviously, I could have ranked all 17 if I wanted to. So it looks like I was low on Jesse Minter because he's the lowest on this list, but he was in my top 5. I really like to stick to my opinions, and I'm going to stick with him being my 5th guy. I felt very strongly that the Ravens should go offense. I still do feel very strongly that the Ravens should have gone offense. With all that said, I think Jesse Minter is going to be a great coach, and um, like I, I think it's a great hire. I'd say I would have been fine with anyone in like top 8 or 9 for me of if I were to rank all 17 candidates. So I like the hire. I'm not going to be negative about it. I think he's a great, great family man, and I think he is a. I've said this every pod for a while. I think he's a defensive genius, and I'm really excited to see him call the Ravens defense this season.
You want to know another strike of confidence for me? The effect we all felt after losing Mike McDonald a few years ago, where we were, taking to Twitter, Instagram, every post there was about the Seahawks oohing and eyeing over McDonald as their new head coach. Like they were giddy, and we were just in a rut. We were just hand in our or head in our hands and depressed, sad about it. It feels the same way with how Chargers fans are handling this right now. I've seen so many sad posts on Twitter talking about Minter and his the video of him walking down the hallways. Like there's so much happy, positive content around this that there is no other way to interpret it. But besides, like you've got the right guy, and he so badly wants to be here with such a great family, and it's just it's such a breath of fresh air. We've needed this as a fan base. And you and me were so excited to get into like talking about this for months and months, like way before it even happened. It's just so much fun that it feels very real after the press conference, an introductory press conference.
There's been a couple moments, even from an hour after the Ravens fired John Harbaugh. There's been so many times where I'm like, did they really do that? Like, and I have to think back to like, there really is going to be a new head coach for the first time in my life or in my time of being a fan. And it's crazy. You mentioned how Chargers fans feel right now. I remember that. Like, first of all, it's a couple days after Ravens lost the AFC Championship, and then we just see Mike McDonald walking into the Seahawks facility with his family, everyone clapping, and you see the exact same thing last night as Jesse Minter walks into the castle. It is funny, and Chargers fans are in shambles. So yeah, that's been pretty funny. What's up, Carson? So yeah, it's kind of like we finally get to be on the other side of that, and I agree. Like today felt like the beginning of the new era, the next era. Like it wasn't going to feel that way until we saw Jesse Minter sitting next to Eric DeCosta and Sashi Brown, getting asked questions by Ravens reporters. So I'm very excited now, and obviously there's still a coaching staff to assemble, but I'm really excited to, get more into this offseason because we're not used to covering this, and hopefully we don't for a while.
Yeah, really quick shout out to Dawson and Carson in the chat. They have those little logos next to them. They're members of the channel. Appreciate you guys for the support. If you want to do that, be a part of that. I think it's $2.99 on the app. It's some weird thing. We got to check it again, but I think it's $2.99. That was the rate that we told YouTube. So $2.99. We'll get some exclusive content here during the off season, I think, with how much draft coverage we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We may not be able to include everything from the first round guys deep to later in the draft. So hopefully we'll get some extra stuff for you guys, but appreciate the support as always. Brad, you want to get us into probably the most fun topic of this whole thing, talking about
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. So I felt like one of the biggest things and most important questions I was interested in hearing Jesse Minter answer today was his sort of ability and motivation to build a relationship with Lamar Jackson, and obviously hoping that they've had conversations. So Jesse Minter said, quote, Lamar and I have had multiple conversations. It's been great to get to know him. I think relationships take time. You don't become the head coach of the Ravens and expect to have a deep relationship with anybody, so those take time. We've been working towards that already. We've had wonderful conversations and we'll look to have many, many more. Um, Zach, what is your first thought that comes when you hear that quote?
I I was expecting to hear a little bit more of like the more meat on the bones. I think someone like Rich Eisen said earlier that I just loved. Like I wanted to hear a little bit more in depth of a conversation or a question or answer whatever towards their conversations. I know that's, personal too, but
Mm-hmm.
I I just want that to happen so badly. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
anxious to hear and see Lamar and Minter go to work and see that as like physically showing him when you see someone like Minter talking to Derwin James and how good they look together. Like everyone's been asking about Hamilton today, but having like
Mm-hmm.
the hands-on kind of conversations with Lamar, like he iterates basically all day today on all of those talk shows and in the conference. It's a again confidence towards that, but also like a reassurance that he is saying Lamar Jackson, he did say this multiple times on multiple platforms. Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL, and he wants to maximize him to get to that point, if not better, while he is here. So, um, just a good way to reassure fans and ourselves, like that. That's a good way to put it from Mad Ross to like obsessed with uh, making Lamar and company great. And I think he even, even when asked about Hamilton, just going a little bit further, asking about Hamilton and Lamar, he would also end it by saying, like, hey, we want to make Lamar, Hamilton, and the rest of this team as good as possible. He wouldn't just end it by saying that when, I think in the press conference, he has guys like Buchanan, Justice Hill, a couple of familiar faces in the room. He's including them saying like I'm going to make you better with this team as a group. So an all in all great answer.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to Mad Rasta for becoming a
Big
member.
shout out.
Um, yeah, I'm really hopeful that they're going to have a good relationship. We've obviously Zrebeck reported that they had a pretty good relationship when Minter was a defensive assistant here from 2017 to 2020. So that's obviously good to know. And I feel like I think he also said something about how it takes time to build relationships, and that's something you continue to work at every single day. And we're obviously going to see Minter and Lamar continue to grow together. And I hope, they've talked about like the offensive coordinator position. Who do you want to be your quarterback's coach? Who's going to be the wide receivers coach, pass game coordinator? I would assume they're having those conversations. And I just feel like this Minter has a great personality. And I think he's going to get along with the players really, really well. And he seems very understanding to me.
So this clip that Hensley, Jameson Hensley of ESPN put out with Bishotti,
Yeah.
he had even referenced that Minter worked with Lamar in a scouting position, like as in the scout team during practices. Minter had worked with Lamar hand in hand, whether it's about the defense that they'd be playing. Uh, a little tiny tidbit that somehow has not gotten to a lot of media, but Hensley reported it. Um, I was impressed hearing that there's probably a little bit more to the relationship than you would have thought um, before all of these conversations took place about an interview. That Minter seemed to be telling Lamar about these defenses and um, back in those times of what 2017 to 2020 is that his tenure that with Minter, I think you saw pretty steady growth during that time, even if Minter was a little tiny piece of that puzzle. That if Minter can unlock more, I think it is in that same kind of position to help him learn defenses at another rate. because with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, they're going to be trying anything they can. So as long as Minter understands him and is learning him as well, I'm open arms towards that idea.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, Minter was asked about how he sort of plans to build an offense around Lamar and also who he's looking to hire an offensive coordinator. Colin Coward on the Herd asked him, how do you sort of build an offense around Lamar? And Josh Allen, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert. He mentioned those quarterbacks, and like sort of how do you go about that? And Jesse Minter said, "quote I think you want the structured plays to work really well, and to be an offense that he feels great about and that he feels like he's thriving in." And that you're making plays comfortable for him, stuff that he's really good at. That was probably maybe the most important thing I've heard today,
Mm.
where I feel like he's basically saying we want to make it easy for him. And then when he wants to, he can rely on his instincts and he can run around and make a play. But the goal is to give him an offense that has a lot of, easy quick game reads, or you dial up a shot like, and he knows to go there. um we see a lot of the best offensive minds do this for their quarterback, and Jesse Minter is obviously a defensive mind, but it shows that he knows what he's doing. And i feel I feel more confident in Jesse Minter's ability to help build Lamar Jackson into a better quarterback than I do John Harbaugh, just because John Harbaugh comes from a special teams background and Jesse Minter does come from a defensive background. But I do think he knows more about the offensive side of the ball than John Harbaugh did. And just from that quote right there, that tells you a lot. And I'm excited to see the offense and obviously who they hire at offensive coordinator, which the guys on the Pat McAfee show asked him that, and he said, quote, I'm looking for a connector and an innovator and a scheme builder around the best player in the world. What are your thoughts on either of those two quotes, Zach?
Well, yeah, the first part with on the Herd, that is just an impressive answer. I think he reiterated it on the Rich Eisen show too, that there's multiple levels to Lamar Jackson offense, and I think we know this too as fans. And if not, it's kind of just in between the lines. Like the Ravens of the last few years, now with Lamar, you have to play through a first play sometimes. There's a second play underlying. Um, th- I think if Minter understands that, gets a guy that can understand that to to a degree where I think Minter also said so many times he wants to really rely, like I almost thought of it as like a floor almost, rely on the techniques, the basic foundations of football that you have to execute on that make you great if you can just do that. And then after that, then you can become an absolute wizard with knowing and playing football. So I saw it as not necessarily a hint at who you would hire whatsoever, because I think a lot of people are asking him to drop some kind of a hint. But uh, the to have the blueprint of what he's looking for is a great thing. And I love how he summed it up with the McAfee quote: connector for me, like someone that's gonna bond with Lamar on another level, like where Munkin
Mm-hmm.
on our friend Ryan Ripken's show said that he could have had a better relationship with Lamar. Like this has to be the best. There can't be a guy that redoes that type of relationship. It has to be to that nth level of relationship with Lamar Jackson to get the most out of him and gain his trust too. Like even if it's not with the offensive coordinator, with Minter to just excel him and the offense. So I'm hoping for the most out of that. I'm hoping for the most out of a lot of things, I'd say, offensively and defensively. And I think Minter's the perfect guy to that. He seems to be also looking for that in every corner for his staff. So another reassurance, a perfect reassurance that he really dug at all day with his answers.
Yeah, I feel like he's almost saying that he kind of wants to hire an offensive coordinator that is basically him, but on the offensive side of the ball. Because he's described himself as connective and an X's and O's expertise. Like,
For sure.
and I feel like he's like looking for himself in an offensive coordinator almost. And obviously, like I know he didn't say any names, but like Declan Doyle and Davis Webb are really two guys that I just feel
Connector.
like
Yeah.
he's almost talking about. It doesn't feel like he's going to hire a 50-year-old offensive coordinator or T. Martin. Um, I think Cliff Kingsbury's still in the cards, but I also think that he would have been hired by now if he was. Like, I just feel like that was like the initial thing, and everyone sort of thought he was going to be the guy. And I feel like now it's kind of gotten past that point. Maybe he still is the guy, but I have a good feeling, not a good feeling, but I really hope it's Declan Doyle. And you know, the he just turned 30 years old. I think he would really do a great job with the offense.
Does it feel in any way the three he mentions, connector, innovator, scheme builder, that like connector could be someone like Webb, where you've heard him and his relationships with quarterbacks has been so perfect. He didn't do this on purpose, but how I'm just
Mm-hmm.
thinking of it,
Mm-hmm.
like innovator, someone like I guess Doyle, where he is next level and 30 years old, he can have a big brain for the rest of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and connector too, like or sorry, scheme builder with someone like Kingsbury who knows what he's doing already. But
Yeah.
how can you find the perfect mix of all three of them through those candidates you mentioned? Someone KP just mentioned, like, yeah, it's kind of slim pickings at offensive coordinator right
Mm-hmm.
now. You might have to go find someone that nobody knows about or nobody's really
Yeah.
interviewed found so far. So we'll have to see.
And and that's what I really trust Minter with his hires. Like if he goes and hires someone from college, like as long as the guy's not 65 years old, like I think I will be in favor of that just because I do trust Minter and the hire that he makes. But um, you know, Declan Doyle, Sean Payton, he's a Sean Payton disciple. You know, he's under Ben Johnson right now, but he was under Sean Payton with the Saints, and then Sean Payton took that year off and then went to Denver and took Declan Doyle with him to Denver. And Ben Johnson sort of handpicked him to be his offensive coordinator. I really think he's a rising star, and that would be my choice. By the way, who would he be your number one choice? Right? I know we know Shieldhouse is out now.
We're saying
Um,
Doyle. I'd say Doyle's the one that sounds the most intriguing. I'd say two with Webb is not a bad deal either,
yeah.
though. If you could have a guy that connects to Lamar, like changing him as a person into football, like that sounds pretty sweet. That
Hmm.
sounds magical.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, so now I guess we'll kind of switch to Jesse Minter's side of the ball
Mm-hmm.
and talk about some of the defense. So it obviously was clarified that Jesse Minter will be calling the plays. Were you concerned at all about that, Zach?
I guess so, given the week we had to wonder if he wasn't going to. But other than that, I felt pretty strong that he was going to do it. Like his press conference quote, I think it's a strength of mine. I think it's one of the reasons I'm sitting here. I love the confidence in that answer, and also the fun thought of these guys. Maybe it's Roquan getting that call in, like hearing your head coach who's been talking to you all week give you the play sounds a little more uplifting almost than just the coordinator. Maybe it's just me as in a title difference, but also it's very refreshing to us seeing that a head coach could be calling either side. So it's just a fun way to think about it either way, that um, Mentor knows what he's doing, seems like he's going to have that next level, next gen philosophy of defensive football that he's been using the last like 3 years. So really excited for him to call defense. And that sounds like a fun thing to know when you're on the sideline, like we'd always talked about, and have a real feel for his players, seeing them all week on the head coaching level instead of on a coordinator level.
Yeah, I'm really excited that the Ravens hired a coach who's going to call plays. I feel like, well, first of all, with his quote when he said, "I think that's one of the reasons I'm sitting here." I think what's cool about when a team hires a head coach that calls the plays and continues to call the plays, it's because they have more confidence in themselves to call the plays than they do a coordinator that they bring in.
Yeah.
So it basically shows that they're like, I think I give us the best chance to win. I think me calling the defense gives us the best chance to win. That's basically what he's saying in a very nice way. And we see some of these coaches who don't call plays or give up play calling duties
Yeah.
early on, and I mean they're basically telling you that they don't think that they're doing a good enough job, or that they don't think they can do a good enough job. So it exudes a lot of confidence there. And also, we both want Minter to call plays because he's clearly an elite defensive coordinator. And then something else, I feel like I'm completely making this up, but I feel like when you have a head coach that calls plays, it's almost like he has to perform during the game too. Like, you have the players on offense that have to perform, the players on defense that have to perform, the players on special teams that have to perform. When you have a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDonald or a Sean McVay or a Jesse Minter, it's like he also has to be on his A game that day. When you have a John Harbaugh or, a coach who doesn't call plays, a CEO, head coach, there's not as much pressure on them. And that
Sure.
can be a good thing, but like I think it almost makes the players feel like they're marching into battle with their coach
Yes.
more so, because that their coach also has to be on his A game. Like I understand knowing when to call a timeout or when to challenge a play. Like, yes, you have to be on your A game, but like these play calling head coaches have to do that also on top of calling plays. And I just think it's really cool, and I think the players can sort of feel that energy from them too.
I feel that energy. That sounds awesome. You said
Yeah.
walking out of the tunnel to go to war with, a coach, where the end of the game, a coordinator isn't always going to be up on the podium getting asked these questions like, "Hey, why didn't you call this better? Why didn't you do this better?" A head coach is going to get directly asked like, "Hey,
Yeah.
your defense didn't play too hot today, or your defense played lights out," and he gets to answer it knowing that he was um, the orchestrator in all of that. So, man, that was a great freaking point, dude. That was awesome. I
That
love that.
that is a good point too, what you just said, because like we don't get to hear from Monken or Orr right after a game. You hear from them on like Wednesday or Thursday or something like
Sure.
that. Obviously, we're not going to be able to hear from both of them, but like, yeah, if there's a coverage mix up or a blitz on third down that doesn't work, like Minter's going to be asked about that right after the game. You know, John Harbaugh would be asked sometimes, why did you guys throw the ball here? Why did you run this blitz there? And he can't answer either of those questions because
He
he's
didn't
not in
call
charge of
it.
either. He's not calling the plays for either side. So that is a good point too. It'll be interesting to at least hear one side of the ball's idea and identity, and game plan sort of right after the game, and what went wrong and what went right.
And it's kind of about accountability too. Like if a CEO head coach is there just, controlling all of his group, including the coordinators, like after the game, maybe the Monday or Tuesday after when you're going over that film over a bad loss, a CEO coach is like, "Hey, that's got to be better. Like this is really good." He slaps them on the wrist or pats them on the back. It's never I have to take accountability for my mistake calling this defense or calling, helping out the offense in that regard. So it feels like a lot more pressure in a good way. Like you said, if you're going into battle up in the stands, like as up in the box or whatever, calling the play instead of on the field, literally telling them what to do. It just feels like a different vibe.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited about that. And also, Minter was asked about sort of the identity of the defense, and kind of what he wants it to be known for. And he said, quote, when people turn on our film, I want them to see a team that's well connected. I think that means a lot, because when you watch the Chargers defense play or Michigan's defense play a couple years ago, it feels like everyone is truly on the same page. And I've watched some film of the Chargers defense where, a linebacker starts coming down or a safety starts coming down, and it almost feels like sometimes they know what the play is. And
Mm.
that is Jesse Minter preparing them during the week. And if he prepares the defense during the week and one or two guys know what the play is, that means all 11 guys probably know what's coming sometimes. And that, the word connected, well connected, I feel like that is essential for a defense. Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Comment from Carson. I'm a Charm City sideline meat
I had
writer.
a stroke reading that.
We appreciate it. And then on the herd, Jesse Minter was asked about, because Colin Coward actually asked a really good question, and it's something that I would have asked Jesse Minter too. He basically said, it's an offensive league. NFL has made it a lot harder for defenses to play well and execute with all these penalties and stuff. So why do you think you can have success as a defensive head coach when it feels like everyone having success recently as an offensive head coach, which I agree with, but it is funny because the two Super Bowl teams right now both have defensive coaches. And Jesse Minter said, look at the two teams still playing right now. Teams that play great defense, it's how you train. It's the processes that you can create to be really good. It is funny. It is really funny that when the Ravens go out and hire a defensive coach, we see the Super Bowl as two defensive coaches. And, he said that he thinks defenses still win championships. I still think that a good offense beats a good defense, but a good offense doesn't beat a great defense. And if everyone is playing together and on their A game, you can definitely win with your defense. I feel like even in the big games, sometimes you end up seeing shootouts. Like in the Rams Seahawks NFC Championship, it ended up being, a high scoring game, but you still see the Seahawks like getting a stop at the end when they really needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing on the Patriots side of the ball. I just feel like the Patriots defense plays very well and sound together. And I think another issue with Zach Orr's defense was tackling, and I felt like there were so many missed tackles. And I'm just talking about these two teams because they have defensive coaches, the Patriots and the Seahawks. It feels like they both tackle very well, and I hope that's what the Ravens defense looks like next year.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a question like zig or zag or yin and yang. Like offense and defense in football, they have to coordinate so much. The defense, I think. Oh, what did Minter say? Minter said like, any QB's best friend is the best possible defense.
He said,
like Lamar hasn't been gifted a great defense every single time he's gone into the playoffs. It's been a couple, sure, but
honestly, one time.
And in those times, still, you get to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
With a little help of your defense playing at a great level. That's not even a lot to say. Like for someone like Minter, we're going to expect a great defense. If the Ravens could get this offense clicking to a slightly above average / more, then you're going to see them go deep in the playoffs because of the perfect mesh of a great defense and a great / good offense. So it gives us another floor that we can work with just right off rip with the defense. We've talked about that before, but a couple of those, games where maybe the offense isn't clicking and you get the ball off a turnover starting at the 30, the 40, it's just a confidence boost. It lifts you up as a team. So if offense and defense are offense or defense as a coach, I think there's great ways to spin it in either way where both can relieve pressure in their own special way, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Comment from Obi-Wan. I can't remember how many plays this season where we had a tackle in the backfield and it was brushed off and went for a first down. I feel like that did happen a lot where it's like someone makes a great play and they have a running back in the backfield for a 2-yard loss and it turns into 6 yards or 8 yards or a first down. That's really just tackling and hopefully, like I mentioned, the Ravens will be better at that this year. Night Show comments, I think having Minter and Lamar is a lot like Mahomes having Spags, especially as the KC offense has struggled over the last few years. I like that take because even when the Chiefs offense has struggled the past couple of years, they have still made it far in the playoffs. And, they won that Super Bowl in 2023. Their offense wasn't lights out that year either. Their defense was really good that year. And a lot of times when the Chiefs win games, it's because the Chiefs dial up a great blitz and get a stop at the end of the game. I feel like not many people talk about that either. So Minter definitely is right that, a quarterback's best friend definitely is a number one defense. Um, so that would be awesome if we could get that next year.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I felt like was notable from Minter's sort of press tour today was someone asked him why he kept all the letters from coaches that basically disregarded him when he was just trying to get into coaching when he was, in his early 20s. And honestly, he said something I wasn't expecting him to say. And he kind of like shut it down. And he was like, like I'm kind of just trying to prove people right now instead of proving people wrong. And I really liked that answer because we talked about right at the beginning of this pod that he feels very optimistic and that there's almost no like hatred in his heart, I guess you could say. And I just thought that was a cool quote to show that he doesn't really care about the doubters or the people that doubted him 20 years ago. Now it's just about proving the Ravens front office right for hiring him.
Yeah, and doubt only gets you so far. It can get you to the top of this mountain like he is right now, or an NFL head coach for one of the best known organizations in the league. Like eventually it gets to a point where you're now tasked like, hey, now we're telling you to reach for the stars, get us Super Bowls. And in order to not like there's no doubter that's gonna obviously say like to just specifically Minter alone, like, hey, you can't win a Super Bowl anymore. It's he hasn't really gotten the chance to as an NFL head coach. So give him 5 years. Like, let's come back to this then and see what that's kind of like. Where someone like that feels like a McDonald-esque answer to zag around the question instead of zig. Like, instead of saying, yeah, we want to prove all the guys that think that we're not good enough down. That seems like the cliche. Everyone says that type of answer. And for him to answer it in a way that's like, actually, I'm just trying to prove that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And the people that were sitting next to him, as in Sashi and DaCosta, I will prove them right, as in I can win us a Super Bowl, which I'm sure he has assured them. So what an exciting, great, different answer, like a breath of fresh air of an answer. I was with you. I couldn't believe that answer. That was really another impressive one.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else you took away from his press conference or any of the 3 shows he went on?
Well, I don't remember which one it was on. Maybe it was at the end of the press conference. He mentioned, or no, DaCosta mentioned talking to Joe Ortiz, Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson. Like, I think the incorporation of past players and people in this organization, along with apparently the veteran group that they asked about that we don't get a list of names for. It's Lamar and company at this point. Like that group signing off on Minter and knowing that he can be the guy was something really fun to know. That he'd talked to Harbaugh and Harbaugh had said, you deserve the job. Maybe that's like I immediately heard that and thought of the negative, like, yeah, you should have that job. Like,
Yeah,
like I could beat you, that kind of thing. But either way, I think someone like Harbaugh isn't really capable of that. And I think that a lot of the background he has, he said his influences were like his father coaching and the Harbaugh's coaching. That just sounds like a guy you want. That past the fact that they can be CEO guys, past the fact that they've learned under those guys and worked with someone as good as McDonald, like Minter brings his own voice into it. Whenever he was questioned about, hey, what are you going to take from someone like Jim or John in your time with them, he always would end it with like, I'm trying to also be myself. There's not a shred of doubt that's saying like, yeah, I'm going to try and do what he did best. There was never, I'm going to take what they've done. It's always, I'm going to do it my way. Just another fun answer that made me feel him kind of command, like, hey, by the way, like you guys made me head coach. I'm running it my way now. There's no Harbaugh
Yeah.
left in the building.
I saw someone on Twitter say it almost feels like Minter heard what the fans were saying. Because a lot of Ravens fans, I wanted an offensive coach. I wasn't mad because of this, but a lot of fans didn't like the hire because he's, Harbaugh disciple or whatever. He was with the Ravens for 3 years. And that was from 2017 to 2020. It's been 5 years since then. I mean, he's been under Jim Harbaugh for the past 4 years, but he's also been at Vanderbilt with Clark Lee, and he was at, Georgia State, Indiana State, he had a long career before Michigan and the Ravens. So he definitely is his own guy, and I think we've already seen that he's not that similar to John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh. Um, and I almost think, I saw someone on Twitter say it feels like Minter heard what we were saying because of what you just said. Like, felt like every show he went on today, he mentioned that he's learned a lot from both Harbaughs, but he's not going to try to be one of them. He's going to just try to be himself and coach in a way that he thinks is best. So yeah,
It's
that was
very
definitely
cool.
cool too.
And possibly my best, no, my favorite quote from all of it. We will be at our best when our best is needed. Like putting a little more pressure towards the playoffs and
Mm-hmm.
excelling through big games come that time. Like when your best is needed is every week in the NFL. It's for Lamar, it feels like it's, every second he's walking around on planet Earth. And
Mm-hmm.
to have someone that thinks that way, that he wants all of his coaches to be that way, it sounds like he wants all of his coaches to basically be copies of himself, which is really funny. Um, and that attitude towards um, late in the playoffs sounds like a different person because it is with how Harbaugh left us. And we've talked about this clip so many times where it's like Super Bowl or bust. It's not Super Bowl or bust. Everyone today asked him about like, hey, yeah, you were brought here to win a Super Bowl. Eisen brought it up tons of times. It's like, yeah, you got insane pressure on you to win a Super Bowl. That's all you're here for. So every NFL coach can be like told that the only reason they're there is to win a Super Bowl. Like it's not like you're supposed to be
Yeah.
like a stepping stone of a head coach. It's just a fun way that he described his I guess the whole aura of Harbaugh and choking games. It let me take a step back and see like, yeah, that's another great thing the fans have been saying about what they want in a coach, that someone can uh, discipline them enough to not choke those games away like this organization is known for the last, I don't even know, forever. So fun, fun thing he mentioned there too.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like Harbaugh never had a ton of pressure on him, and Minter is getting hired with pressure. So I think it's just a different vibe that the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens feels. It just felt like Harbaugh never had a ton of pressure on him, and he had already gotten that ring. Or no, he definitely did early on, but after the Super Bowl, he'd already had his ring, and um, he was going to be here for a while, kind of no matter what happened. So I like that too. Like Colin Cowherd had him on, and Cowherd was basically like, John Harbaugh's a really good coach, and they got rid of him. So there's a lot of pressure on you with this job.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely knows, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I felt like I wanted to talk about. Obviously, he said he talked to Kyle Hamilton a couple times already.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of funny. I think it might have been the interview with Garrett Downing. He mentioned that he showed Derwin James Kyle Hamilton film, and now he's going to show Kyle Hamilton Derwin James film to just sort of show them how he wants to use them. And obviously, two of the best safeties in the league, maybe the two best safeties in the league. Am I missing someone crazy? I
Mm,
know Kirby Joseph's really good, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think they're probably one of the two two of the best safeties in the league.
For sure.
So I'm really excited to see how he uses Kyle Hamilton.
Last thing I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
was Pat McAfee and those guys are all Pittsburgh guys, so they had to bring up, the AFC North. And he seemed to be pretty pumped up about how he perceived those Pittsburgh games from back in that time that he was with the Ravens, how like there was an attitude adjustment during all the division weeks and stressing on the importance of 6 games against those guys. You really got to know them front and back. Like, what was it? Oh, he mentioned he was the only defensive minded coach in the division now, which
he seemed excited about that too.
Yeah, I know he was really pumped about that. Like mentioning that is pretty gutsy fun too. Like where Munkin and Taylor, I guess technically McCarthy, like those guys compared to someone like Mike McDonald, who sees McVay and Shanahan and I guess whoever the Cardinals coach will be. Like I assume it'll be an offensive guy too. Like it feels like the Ravens are noticing this kind of turn in the NFL, kind of getting a jump start, as in we're going to get a defensive guy when everyone's going offensive, like a jump start on the zag when everyone else is zigging. I've said that a few times, but like I was pretty pumped up about that answer. The only defensive guy in the league or in our division now. That sounds fun.
Yeah, he definitely knows that not many head coaches in the NFL are on the defensive side of the ball. So he's definitely up to the challenge, and is obviously very humble, but you can tell that he's very confident in his ability to execute a defense and have probably the best defense in the league. So very, very exciting stuff. I definitely am excited about this hire, and we'll see where the coaching staff continues to go. I'm just making sure the Ravens haven't hired an offensive coordinator while we've been live. And yeah, I don't see anything. The Eagles did hire Sean Mannion. So that's
OC?
Yeah.
Whoa, oh crap.
So that's
it's a big name off the table.
That's I would say a job has now been fulfilled, and it was someone that Ravens fans didn't want. So that's good.
Didn't know, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it fills out. Still looking for a defensive coordinator, D-line coach, wide receivers coach, tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks coach. So still a lot to fill out. We'll see how it shakes out. Obviously, Zach and I will continue to keep you updated. What's up, Fry Reviews? But overall, a great day for Ravens flock. New head coach officially at the helm, Jesse Minter, and we will see how it continues to shake out over the next couple of weeks regarding the coaching staff.
Yeah, big shout out to all of our audio listeners. If you don't like seeing our faces on YouTube, you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. We've seen some numbers go up on there, so big shout out to all of you guys for supporting on all the platforms we use. We also are on Instagram, Twitter /X, TikTok. If you want to give us a follow on there, we really appreciate it. And always the support is much, much, much appreciated. Love you guys. But yeah, that was such a great day for a Ravens fan to take in. Like, just besides the press conference, which someone even said, I don't remember who it was. It honestly felt a little by the book. Like,
yeah, it was pretty normal.
Crazy stuff said,
yeah.
There wasn't a Bishotti kind of press conference. We were almost spoiled by that. Like when our head coach is going to these other platforms to also talk about it, you saw him kind of lighten up and see him in a different shade. So I was just so pumped up now to, I guess, start the offseason. But dude, it's going to be a long time till we get to some actual football. I'm all antsy for that now. Crap.
Yeah, man, me too. And also I think we had upwards of 30 people in here, 23 right now, 11 likes on the video. So smash the like button for us. And also if anyone in here is not subscribed right now, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Close to 1,100 subs pretty recently after hitting 1,000. So growing pretty quickly right now. We'd love for you guys to join the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Zach and I will have a ton of free agency, draft content, and continue talking about
It's
the
coming up.
coaching staff as it fills out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So excited for that. And for our reviews, we went live at like 6:04 ish Eastern. If you missed a notification, click the bell and then click it again. Sometimes it's
Oh, you
glitchy.
think?
Maybe sometimes that works. But anyway, appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.